Glamfam. So today we are going to be going over how to highlight and contour your face. And it can be a little intimidating to jump into highlighting and contouring if you don't know where to start. So that is what this video is about. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please don't forget to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Before you leave, to become a part of the Glamfam, I also have a Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They're also Beautybyjosiek, and I talk to you mostly over on those platforms. If you are new here, hello, I am Josie, and let's get into this basics video. So, highlighting and contouring. It's a little intimidating to step into the world of shading and brightening when you are a beginner or have never really played around with it before. My first tip to you when you are starting to want to highlight and contour is to get a smaller brush than you think you need. If you are intimidated that you are going to, blend it too high, blend it too low, blend it too much so that it doesn't show. Did I just rhyme? Some people use like a brush like this. And, I do that sometimes, and sometimes that's okay because, it's fluffier, a little bit easier to blend out. But if you're a beginner and or you've never really done highlighting and contouring, I suggest getting a smaller brush than you think you need. Now, this is a angled blush brush from, I can't remember what company this was, but this is the MAC 168. This is much smaller, as you can see, than this fanned out angled brush, but it is the same kind of brush. It's an angled blush brush. So I would opt for this one because it is a little bit smaller and it's a little bit easier to have control of the product with. So we're gonna go into our contour and start this process. A lot of people like to go very dark with their contouring because, it's a little bit more dramatic. But if you're a beginner, go with something that's only 1, 2, maybe 3 shades darker than your skin. This is almost the perfect shade for my skin tone, and this is Bahama Mama by The Balm, and this is what we're going to use to contour with. So we are gonna go into the brush, put a tiny bit onto the angled part, just like so, and we are going to find our cheekbone. How I find my cheekbone is I go like this. I pull my lips to the other part of my face. So when I pull my lips, this right here is my cheekbone, if you can see it. It kind of tightens, and you can kind of see it go in, right here. Now that's where we're gonna put our contour. You can do a very simple technique, which is the 3 technique, and that's where you make a 3 on your face, onto the forehead, underneath the cheekbone, and underneath the jawline. That is a really, really good technique for beginners, and I still use it to this day. The smaller brush gives you a lot of control over where you put your contour. So when you go in with your smaller brush, you can put your first, I don't know how to say it, like draft, if that makes sense, down. And then you can step back from the picture, and if you need to blend a little bit higher, you can blend a little bit higher. If you need to blend a little lower, you can blend a little lower. It's a lot harder to do that with a really big fluffy brush, but we're gonna go into our 3. So up here, underneath our cheekbone, and then down underneath our jawline. And I know you guys have probably seen this a lot because this is how people pretty much explain how to contour. But it's used a lot because it's a really good technique for someone that really wants to get a hang of it. You can go from here, and once you get a hang of this, you can then play around with how you like to contour your face after you get used to using the brush and creating shadows. Something that I learned a long time ago at cosmetology school is when you are contouring, don't so much worry about getting a sharp contour while you are putting your contour down, because you can always go back later and carve that out with translucent powder. Now, you want to focus on the blending aspect of the contour the most because that's what makes it look natural. And natural contour is what most people are looking for when they're wanting to do contour every single day. and not spend a lot of time on that step. So stick with the 3. Don't put so much product on your face at once, and blending is your best friend. You can always go back in and add more product. Always remember that. You cannot take product away. I mean, you can, but it's gonna be a lot harder to take the product away. Let's start on the other side. First you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but after you get a hold of it, after you get the hang of it, it's really not that big of an extra step to do when you're getting ready. Carving your contour out is a lot easier than you think. Some people think that it's like taking concealer and carving it out and then blending it out, but I literally just do mine with translucent powder. So what I do is I go right underneath where my contour starts, and we're just going to connect it down to the chin. Don't go underneath your chin as much because remember you put that contour there. You can do the other side as well. I blended this a little bit lower than I would usually, so this carving will really help out with them looking the same. And this is where you could really fix your mistakes. And then I will let that sit for a little bit while I move on to my nose contour. This is the hardest thing to get right, I feel, especially when you are a beginner. So my tip to you is to only go 1 shade darker on your nose contour than your skin tone. The reason being is that if you mess up on your nose, it's super easy to catch. It's super easy to see. Your eye goes straight towards it. It makes your nose look crooked. It makes your nose look dirty. It can do so many things. So don't go much darker than your skin tone. This is 1 shade darker than my skin tone. This is what I'm using for my contour. You can then go back in and shade a tiny bit of your regular contour color into your nose contour after you get the shape done with 1 shade darker. So I like to go in with a flat eyeshadow brush for my contour. You're going to pick up a tiny amount, a tiny amount, and still hit it off. Because the last thing you want is an over-contoured nose because it's super hard to fix. The secret to a nose contour is to know your own shape nose. So if you look at my nose, it's a little bit, you really can't see it in the camera, but if I turn sideways you can see it. See how I have that little hump that goes down and comes out? If I close that hump off with lines and try to blend it out, it's gonna make my nose look very wide unless I keep the lines on top of my nose super skinny. So the trick to that is to only put the product on the tip of your brush. I don't like how this is wider than the bridge of my nose by how much it is. I want it to kind of continue in a straight line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to not touch my skin with the contour, but trace along my nose where I like the wideness. So I come down here, and then right here is where it starts to get wide. So I'm going to start to place that contour right where my nose gets a little wider. I'm just gonna blend that out, just like that. And even that, if you guys can see, changes the shape of your nose. And that was barely anything. A lot of people like to take like really dark, I've even done it in the past, and you can do it like this, but it's a lot easier if you do it like this. A lot of people take a really dark bronzer, a cream bronzer, or a cream foundation that is like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 shades darker than their actual skin tone. Put 2 lines of their nose, blend it out, and call that a nose contour. But the problem with that lies in we are not all the same. We do not all have the same noses. We do not all have the same preference of nose. So nose contouring is very personal. It comes down to what kind of nose you want to have and what kind of nose you do have. So really pay attention to the shape of your nose and look at noses that you like, that you want. And then you can then place the shadows on whatever noses that you like onto yours. So if you want your nose to be wider, if it's too pointy for you, bring your nose lines here. Bring your contour lines on the side of your nose instead of right on the top. If you want a more button nose, go across your nose up here and then underneath here, and then we'll bring it to a little boop. If you want a pointy nose, make a circle of a contour on the tip of your nose, but blend it out very nicely and put a tiny little bit of highlight there. That will make your nose look pointy. It's just different for everyone, and it's not just one size fits all for nose contouring. Realize where I want my nose contour to start, so I want it to get thin on my nose right here. Place the contour down, blend it up. Blend it out a little bit so you don't have that stripe, and then you can match this side as well. Now what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to carve my nose out with the translucent powder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go right on the outside of that blend line and drag down. If you can see that. That's going to make the contour a little bit sharper on the edges so it's not so blurry. Pull down. The other thing that does is it gets a straighter line than you can get. And since the Beauty Blender is one cohesive sponge, it's really easy to get a straighter line. And once you are done with this, tiny bit of translucent powder, shake it off and place it right down the center of my nose. Now I'm gonna go in with highlight. My favorite brush to apply this is the Sigma tapered highlighter brush. This is the F35. I am just gonna do basic and teach you guys how to put highlighter on the easiest way. So the easiest way to apply highlighter, to the side and just sweep back and forth and dust off the excess. Now what you're gonna do is, I do this again, just to see it in the mirror, and go right on top of your cheekbone. This is gonna be different for everyone. You just wanna put it on the highest part of your cheek. So your cheeks come out, right? Where your cheeks come out and then they start to go back into your eyes. At that highest point is where you want to place the highlight. And I am just gonna go right on the side of my eyes and down onto that cheekbone, about halfway down at my face. And do the same thing on the other side. And a trick to doing highlight, once again, is to only place it in one spot. Don't do the whole brush, because then you get a super thick highlight, and then that kind of doesn't make the illusion look real, if you know what I mean. We're gonna take a fluffy brush and now we're going to dust the carve lines out. So just go along the line. And once you dust them off, see how that sharp line is there? That is a really nice contour that you didn't really have to work hard at, if that makes any sense. By the way, guys, I am taking the time to explain everything. So this is gonna be a little bit longer video, but in reality, I could probably do this in about 5 minutes. So then I am just going to dust my nose off. That is complete. Then I'm gonna go in with the highlight again. I'm just gonna put a tiny little dot with my finger on the tip of my nose to make my nose look lifted. Right there. And if you want your nose to look lifted, you don't want to put the highlight on the bottom, but if you want your nose to look a little bit lower, you can put the highlight on the bottom of your nose as well. I'm just putting it on the tip of my nose, just like so. And then I'm going to go into it again with my brush and put it onto the top of my lips. All right, highlighting and contouring finished. I will go finish the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Alright guys, rest of my face is complete. If you would like to see how I did all of the rest of the steps in my face, they will be in the series of all the basic videos that I am going to be putting out. I will link it here if they are up right now. And I hope you guys enjoyed this contour and highlight video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe before you leave to become part of the Glamfam. And I will see you guys in my next video. I love y'all. Bye!